Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fashion Coffee Hour. It's Indigenous Peoples Day, and Marcy and I celebrate every holiday, every day as with fashion and culture and beauty, because we believe that wherever that is present, there's society is advanced morally, socially, and economically. And I guess in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day, I guess many civilizations we know of and people we know of from the fashion and beauty and art that they have created and added to everyone's culture and everyone's benefit. So today we're taking a look at Marcy's Indigenous additions and contributions to the world of fashion. And Marcy, we're looking at your survey, the Marcy survey, and how you prospect with clients and assess their needs, build a relationship, and hopefully build a wardrobe together. You prepared a little presentation for us. So why don't you introduce that while I see if I can find presentation.
Oh, well, there I am in Paris, which is very appropriate.
This is a day with Marcy.
And we all know that fashion begins and ends in Paris.
And I'm sure the Parisians would be the first to tell you that, Marcy.
So what I thought I'd do, go ahead and go to the next slide, is just talk about how a virtual styling session works, because today we have to be prepared to do things virtually. But I have to say, whenever I can, I will do it in person because it's much better.
So virtual is a challenge and an opportunity because it does break down barriers, right? Of time and space and many different things. So what are the common denominators of a styling session, Marcy? Whether it's real life or virtual?
Common denominators are really just for me to start out by learning about my client and asking her some questions, whether that's beforehand or when I see her. And I should say she or he, but most of my clients are female.
Or however they identify, I suppose. So first you're just gonna have a get together, chat, relax, and kind of understand
what they're all about, because I glean information from their home, from the way they live, about their likes and dislikes.
That's terrific. So it's like almost like a dating site. You have to find out who you're talking to and if there's some synergy there for a relationship.
Right. And as I said, we're talking virtual, so I wouldn't actually go to their home, but perhaps I would still see some of their home.
So it could be similar. Getting to know somebody for this kind of relationship could be similar to like finding a personal trainer or a real estate agent or investment banker.
Mm-hmm.
Assessing your risk tolerance and your family needs. I mean, if you're going to be entertaining, going to be doing business, work at home environment. So be very similar to fashion styling.
Yes, I actually have partnered with real estate brokers in the past.
How about a financial planner, Marcy? Okay, so some things I want to know, what and need to know, have to know, should know, don't want to know. What do you want to know, Marcy?
Well, let's move on to the next slide so I can be
Queued up.
Cued.
Okay.
So I do want to know their biggest concern when it comes to style. Some possibilities are whenever they have an event or something special they have to go to, they get very anxious and run out and buy a dress that isn't a 9 or 10. I have this scale of what I think people should buy. They shouldn't buy anything that's less than a 9 or 10 on the scale of its ability to fit and flatter. So, this happens routinely with women, I think, that, something's come up and they just feel like they have to go out and buy something for the event. And so some of the things that are normally looked at aren't. And after the event, they don't wear that outfit anymore.
So they weren't
So
prepared. They weren't feeling confident. They hadn't planned ahead, or maybe they just didn't see themselves as prepared.
yeah, and I think when I work with someone, I'm not buying a lot of things, but I'm buying enough so that they have really great things in their closet to pull from. And then I ask them what they would like to accomplish by working with me. That might be to have a 9 to 5 work wardrobe. It might be that they're really hitting the charity circuit hard and need a lot of fancy things. Or they just I don't know. What's another one? They
Well, they
just
want validation. Maybe I think a lot of times clients want validation to some extent. Um, they're taking a chance. They're asking for help, and they don't want to. They don't want to feel like they're a complete schmuck. They want to feel like they're doing something right. So that's a kind of a fine line sometimes with the client
yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
And I guess what
So
would you like to accomplish by working with me? That could be a number of things. Also, I think people probably don't. Well, maybe again, I think with a trainer, that would seem somewhat obvious, but not always. And then with fashion, that's tough. I mean, you
it's
worked a lot.
very
You worked a lot in San Francisco, and I think some people there. I'm assuming getting a picture in the paper was probably something some people wanted to accomplish, right? At these openings and galas, that was a litmus test of if you made a fashion statement, you probably were going to be included in the media.
yes, yes, and there are a lot of those kind of events in San Francisco, and I think there are here as well, but maybe not since the pandemic. Then I asked them how their time is divided. So, if somebody works constantly and really doesn't have a lot of time for family or social, then that is a different
Yeah,
wardrobe.
these kids really don't go with my outfit, Marcy. I'm sorry.
So that's key because, I can buy things that choose things that look great on them, but if they don't have anywhere to wear them, it doesn't, that's not great. So, and then before we get to the closet, a couple more things that I like to know is some silhouettes that they like to wear. I also want to get all their sizes. And then we look in the closet.
Do we have to go there, Marcy? It could be bad in there. Like, is it frightening? Is that to give you apprehension?
No, it's not frightening. If it was frightening, then my clients went in and tidied up a bit before I came. It's never been frightening. So, I mean, if I go in person, I'll go through a lot of their things and let them know what they should keep and what they should get rid of. On a Zoom call, I probably just have them get the things that they haven't worn in the last 5 years and gather those together. And we go through that and see if there's anything to salvage. And usually there is a lot to use.
But 5 years, I mean, that would tell you something, wouldn't it, Marcy? If you had something you hadn't worn for 5 years, which I guess we all do have it, that does pretty much say it all, doesn't it?
Kind of, but that's one reason they hire someone like me because they don't see how to use it, and I do.
So do you think you usually find a number of items in the not worn in 5 years pile that are are a 9 or 10? That's interesting. So that's a huge value right there, isn't it?
Yes.
Because if it's something that represents an investment and it's taking up space, that's and you can make use of it, that's going to be a 9 or 10, and it's a huge win. Very interesting. Have you ever had a closet disaster where it just really all needed to go?
Um, yeah. I mean, not all, but there have been some that really have to. They're just not not gone through it at all, so there's just too much that they're not wearing, and that's not good. But I've never gotten rid of everything.
It's good.
So then with all that I've learned about the way they live and these questions that I ask, I use my abilities and experience to create a roadmap where to go and what to buy. So that's virtual, and in real life it would be more like I would find a number of things at different stores and take the client to try them.
And then is that roadmap like a linear route, or is it kind of like a zigzag, or are we going around? Like, is there a problem you just avoid to the very end and go around in a circle, or do you go in a clover leaf? Like, is it an exit wrap, Marcy, or are you merging lane? Like, what is the roadmap? Is everyone's roadmap different?
It's a figure of speech, Sandra.
Well, I'm a man, Marcy, and I don't like to ask for directions. And I don't even look at roadmaps. I just barrel down the highway and swear like a truck driver. That's my approach. But
I can't imagine that.
everyone's true personality comes out behind the wheel of the
That's
car,
true.
Marcy. You're sorry to say. Oh, well, that's terrific. And then this is a
So
very fun
then,
area.
yeah, then I want to get an idea of what their likes and dislikes are and where they are from a cost standpoint. So we go through some of the designers that they bought, whether it's luxury. And actually, I told you that when I was going through all this, there are so many designers today. There's an app on my phone called Runway, and it's by Vogue.com. And oh my goodness, there are just millions of designers I've never heard of. So in the last 10 years, designers have proliferated. Maybe, some of the other countries are on there, and that's why there's so
Well,
many.
do you think if Andy Warhol were alive today, he would say in the future everyone will be a designer for 15 minutes? Is that where we are now?
I think so. Yeah, the competition is pretty stiff. So my career has been in designer, and that's where I feel you should put some of your money in, if you're able, you want to yeah, have some really well-made things that you can have for a long time, and then mix it with lesser designers. I don't recommend anyone buy designer exclusively. Where's the style in that? So,
Well, that makes sense. That was the trend for many, kind of a rule of thumb for interior design. It's the idea of mixing and mixing periods and mixing styles. I think maybe now it's, everything's just kind of more the spare look a little bit. People are not as into mixing as much, but for fashion, it still works as a long-term strategy.
yeah,
Mixing.
it's a little, yeah. I mean, in my mind, yeah, because you can do a lot more creative things with high and low. And yeah, if you just dress designer head to toe, it's not very
Well,
interesting.
I do like the idea of a handful of pieces traveling with you for the majority of your life or a long stretch, because that seems very holistic. And I think we've pretty much beat the sustainability word into the ground, but it's life reaffirming, and it is a good use of resources. And well-made pieces should last a lifetime. So it's a good message in that as well.
Yeah, and I think sustainability, while we have been hit over the head with it, is here to stay, and we will keep hearing about it. Hopefully not as much. There's balance with all these things. And fast fashion, I'm never going to recommend people buy a lot of fast fashion. Honestly, I don't recommend they buy a lot of anything. That's just my personal view about it. That you buy less. and buy
Well,
better.
I also like the term someone used in one of our recent calls was the slow fashion. I thought that was a good talking point. And you're right, less is more. People don't need to have an overabundance. They need to be sufficient things for all occasions, but not overabundance.
Right. And I think fast fashion really brought that to a fever pitch that people thought they had to be on this treadmill of buying trends one after another, and you really couldn't keep up.
Well, that's something we really don't talk about. We don't talk about trends because you don't follow trends.
I don't follow trends unless I can see one. Unless I can be ahead of one. And I do that from time to time. It's harder and harder to do with the fast fashion. But some of my clients like to follow trends. So these are some of the luxury designers that, luxury wasn't really a word back when I started in fashion. So it's just designer. But now I think, things have gotten very, very expensive and it's gone the way of this luxury, not only in clothing, but homes, and it's just a buzzword. So what falls under that category is Gucci, Chanel, Hermes, Dior, Louis Vuitton, all the big players. So I try to get an idea of what they like and perhaps introduce them to one that they don't know about, or not that they don't know about, but they've never had any experience with.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was also telling you that because I saw all these designers on runway.com, vogue.com, I think there's a category for luxury, designer, second tier designer, and then the rest, fast fashion and other things. So anyway, these are a few second tier designers. There were other designers. I mean, I did get, top designers that I didn't put them, but I'll have to get another list. So,
Well, I guess it can be defined in different ways, and people can spill over into different categories. But when we talk about luxury designer versus second tier designer, I'm wondering, so who is the driver? I mean, we just assume that it's the super ultra luxury designer, but really just designer could be a driver that spills over into luxury designer, couldn't it, at this point? And we've
but
talked
then,
about street too. Street also can be the driver and trickle up the other direction. So it doesn't have to always be the top down.
no, it isn't the top down today because of all the street designers. But I mean, Coco Chanel said famously, that she found fashion on the street and in the air and all around. So anyway, here we are at the end. I have a couple tips. One that I always use with my clients is that I only want them to keep in the closet what is a 9 and 10 on a rating scale of the garment's ability to fit and flatter them. So no 8s, no 7s, those all go. So it pairs it down to the best of the best. And then I feel like anything that's in the closet can be put together pretty easily and looks great. And fit is the only rule I have today. There used to be no white after Labor Day and all these things that have really no longer apply in this day and age. So anyway, with that fit tip, you do need to have a good tailor, which can be hard to find, but it's pretty necessary unless you're buying at the luxury stores or even Marcus, they have in-store tailors.
And we talked briefly about how technology in the future, one of the projections is that there'll be many, many more sizes in the future. I think up to over 100. I think one resource we found said it'd be up to 168 sizes. So truly, I mean, think about it. Most of us are not one of the sizes that there are, because we're all just those sizes were created for an industry that manufactures and produces clothes for sale in a physical retail store. But in reality, most of us are something in between a size. So that's where you need a tailor or you need custom made.
Now, tell me
so
again what group were you talking
when
about?
we talked about the idea that everything will be generated on a computer, there'll be a virtual fashion show, virtual models, virtual production, and that would then necessitate, well, it'd be the opportunity for multiple sizing beyond what we have today.
Right. Well, that is definitely coming. I mean, not, all of that runway stuff is starting to happen.
But currently, when people are shopping today for, quote unquote, their size really isn't their size because it's such a small scale based on, I mean, the vast variety of people. I mean, everyone is every shape and size under the sun. Not everybody really truly is the size that they have uh, in the label back of their garment. Just aren't.
I was size 6. I was a perfect size 6. I don't think that's the case today, but another tip is when you're shopping, bring along a friend with a good eye. We don't have our vision isn't 360 degrees, so you can't see the back. I mean, yes, they have the mirrors in the dressing rooms, but
Okay,
it's a
Marcy,
good idea to.
should the friend be, if you're a female, should the female friend be another female? Should it be a male and vice versa? Like, what do you think? Is there any rule there?
No, no.
You can trust as long as it's a trusted friend.
Oh, okay. Because I have good friends. Yes, you need a trusted, and I
And
guess
an honest friend, right?
right, right, absolutely. You need someone to say, "Wow, it's a great piece, but it's not really flattering you."
Yeah.
And where did you see that? Oh, I saw it on a mannequin. Well, it doesn't really look great on you.
And the rest of that was that you definitely have to try it on. Like, you should never shop just just flipping through the rack. You need to. It's all about. It could look terrible because you mentioned it could look terrible on the hanger and look terrific on you, and vice versa. So that's
Yeah.
good. That's a good
Mm,
tips.
mm.
Well, recently we visited our friend Stephanie, and we did a. You modeled some of these concepts, and that was very interesting because Stephanie was an example. She had many things in her closet that actually worked well, and just needed a little tweak and a little styling tips to make it work. And some things probably just weren't so much a hit, and a number of things were just redundant that weren't as fantastic as the key pieces in her wardrobes. That was really fun to see in action.
I think that people just need a professional person to say, it's time to get rid of that. You've got one great jacket that you wear all the time, and then this other one that never really gets worn. It needs to go. We need that real estate.
Well, that's why everyone needs a fashion intervention and some helpful fashion advice and tips. So if you'd like to learn more about Marcy's styling services and serving styling uh, philosophy, please join us this evening at Fashion Coffee Hour. Fashion Coffee Hour is always at 6 p.m. on Monday evenings. Thank you so much. Take care.